This is the Wabash-Carnegie Public Library Oral History Program, interviewing Helen M. Brown at her home, Back Acres, 1 mile east of Logansport, Indiana, Wednesday afternoon, June 5th, 1974. Now, Mrs. Brown, first of all, I'm going to ask you where and when you were born.
Aha. Well, this is going to sound very roundabout because I was actually born in Davenport, Iowa, July 4th, 1924.
Yeah. And who were your parents? Who was your father and your mother's maiden name?
All right. My father was Dr. Ray S. McPike, and the reason I was born in Davenport is because he was attending the Palmer School of Chiropractic at that time in Davenport. My mother was Helen N. Owings, Owings, and she was from Louisville, Kentucky.
Now, what was your? Where did you grow up then? Let's go back.
I really grew up in Louisville.
And what was your Wabash connection?
Well, when my father was a young boy, and I think, as I recall, somewhere around the age of 8, he moved from Chicago, Illinois. His father's name, my grandfather's name, was Curtis McPike. And he moved from Chicago to Wabash and started the Wabash Cabinet Company, which in years past now sold all to the Showalter File Company.
And did you grow up there then in Wabash?
No, I did not. I grew up in Louisville. My father grew up in Wabash. All his childhood was spent there. And he played on the first professional football team. I wonder if you even know that they had a professional football team in Wabash, Indiana. It was the first one in the United States, and my father played quarterback there.
That would be the Wabash Athletic Association?
Yes, it would.
Yeah. How old would your father have been then? What year was he born? Let's establish
oh boy, now see, I should have thought this all out before. He has been dead for 16 years, and he died at 69, so he would be
85.
85, right.
Incidentally, on this tape that we do when we type this, you have a chance to
make corrections.
Corrections and subtract and add and add anything else you want to. Well, first of all, we've established something extremely interesting because there are men still in Wabash, of course. Homer Showalter, I think, would have been.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've done Homer Showalter on the
tape.
You
You have?
About the Athletic Association.
In fact, now let's see. Which one was it? Was it Ole Olson or Chick Johnson?
Peru. They were from Peru, but they had Wabash connections.
I was going to say, because one of them was a very close friend of mine. In fact, grew up with my dad. They were very close friends.
Right. That would be through the Howard family. And
yes.
Yes. Okay. Now, what is the connection between your father? Tell me some of the stories that he told you about days in Wabash and so forth.
Oh my, I can remember so many funny ones about Halloweens, how they used to be when he was a kid. You've probably heard all of those.
No.
Oh my, the favorite one, of course, was going out and pushing over the outhouses. And you think of all the restrictions they have now on July 4th, you can't even shoot off fireworks,
Right.
But I think my father told me all of these outlandish stories that were very true because I was born on July 4th and he was telling me what it used to be like on July 4th because they got the buggies in they shot off the guns, not firecrackers, but guns, and did all these things. But he had very, very fond memories. In fact, and I think this is interesting, too, and I wish I could remember this fellow's name. But one of my father's closest friends, when he was a young boy, was an older Negro man who was very, very athletic and acrobatic. My father being quite athletic. And this man was great on turnball poles and things like this, gymnastics. And in that day and age, it was unusual to have the equality of Negroes and whites, but this young man had taught my father so much athletically was important. Then one of the first jobs that I can remember Dad telling that he had was actually mowing the lawn of Mark Honeywell. He mowed the lawn, and what is the name of that street where the family home was up on?
One was on, this first home was on Main Street, and the second home was on Wabash Street.
Well, let's see, this had probably been Maine then, probably, because Dad was fairly young, I guess, when he did that.
Right.
And I know he was so proud to think that they were building this community center. Dad was still living. In fact, what is the age of that community center?
Started really during World War II, so I think it'd be almost
Right. And
30
he was
years
so
old.
pleased because he'd go over on the bus if I wasn't able to drive him over from Logansport, and he'd go look up his friends. There was Ed Little that had the little dog Jip. I remember going to see him. And the barber, because this was a funny story too. Dad used to go over there to the barber. And of course, it'd be maybe many years since, was this Ed Gray? Or no,
Harry Gray.
Harry Gray.
Right.
And maybe it had been many years elapsed since the two of them had seen each other. And I can remember what my dad used to do. He'd go in and Harry Gray'd say, "Well, Ray, boy," he says, "you look old, you know." And they'd kid each other. And my dad's favorite trick, even when he was up in his 60s, would be to stand on his hands, put his hat on his feet, and walk out the door of the barber shop.
Did he go to school in Wabash?
Yes. Yeah, right.
And did he tell you anything about his school days?
Well, I imagine he was pretty full of mischief. I know he was always a fun-loving guy, but very philosophical. And I can remember that I think he must have gone to one reunion if they had such, which was more rare in those days anyway. Maybe they didn't plan it, but he'd go back, and it was probably a very small class.
Where did he live? Where did the family live?
Let me think. I think it was on Wabash Avenue.
On Wabash?
Yes.
Did, when, as he got older and out of his high school days, did he work for Mr. Honeywell at all then after that?
No, he worked for his father, who had the Wabash Cabinet Company, you see, and then he traveled on the road for them in New York, and then, of course, that's how he came across, met my mother, actually, when he was on the road as a salesman for the Wabash Cabinet Company. His territory was all over, and in Birmingham, Alabama, then he met my mother, who was really from Louisville, so we're so widespread.
Yeah. That was his father's factory then?
Yes. Yeah, right.
And did he ever tell you any stories of the old Wabash Cabinet factory?
Yes, and I remember the problems he used to talk about getting started. And I think they started in a warehouse. And as I recall, there was a Ben McClure from Peoria, who's deceased now, but he was actually a partner of Curtis McPike's. And the three of them, or the two of them, really started it, and my father then at the time was the only on-the-road salesman.
Yeah, I'll be darned. What, any furniture preserved from that day at all? Do you have any preserved?
We've got one old file, my brother does, who lives in Louisville. He's got one of the old files, and they used to have, they called them sectional bookcases, one set on top of another with the glass doors. And I think those came originally from the Wabash Cabinet Company, too.
Did you ever spend any time in Wabash?
Really just with Dad latterly. We went back. Now, I had an aunt and an uncle there. He had a sister, Vera Bowman, she is now. And Kenny Bowman, her husband, lived in Wabash, and then on a farm right outside Wabash and around La Fountain area.
That would
there,
be the
right.
only connection that you would have
right.
with the town. Yeah.
The connection I have now is I've run into some other artists that are over there. Marge Slimmer, who paints, and she vaguely remembers my dad, and of course she remembers some of the history back of that too.
Did he leave you any stories on the athletic, which was big?
You know, I wish you were talking to my brother instead of me, because my brother's just enough years older that he would remember these things, except that my dad was a very small man, very short, but he was the quarterback and extremely fast. I guess he had to be, he said, because of his size.
I'm sure he did.
But I know that that was quite a thing, because there just weren't professional teams in those days. And they were actually paid by surrounding towns, in other words, to meet their football team from a certain town, you know, and meet. And so they were actually the first professional football team, which was great. And I think I recall that they had a very good record, but I can't tell you what that was.
Extremely good record.
Right.
Well, of course, many of your father's contemporaries are still living.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I am so sorry that Dad isn't still living so he could see all the progress there,
Homer
too.
Showalter and
Oh, yeah.
Leewell Carpenter is still living.
Now, Schlemmer the plumber, is he...
Schlemmer the plumber. Now, there was one that was in the tin shop.
Okay, yeah, right.
Well, he's gone.
He's gone now.
The kids are still alive.
Right. And then there was a woman, a contemporary of my father's that worked for the newspaper there, and I would know her name if I heard it. I don't know that she ever married.
Yeah. Next time you see Marge Schlemmer, ask her, because
she would remember.
She had about 30 years on the newspaper.
That's right. Okay. Well, that's probably the reason she knew Dad, because Dad always looked up the barber and then this woman that worked on the newspaper, and I'll have to find out her name.
Yeah. Well, good. And how did you happen to get to Logansport?
Oh, golly, this is a funny route, too. I was raised, of course, in Louisville, and my husband was from Michigan. Mm-hmm. And he went to chiropractic college with my brother. Mm-hmm. And that's how I met him. Mm-hmm. And so instead of choosing either Kentucky, my home, or Michigan, his, we compromised and came halfway between to Indiana. Yeah. And really, of course, it was following World War II. And then it was whether you could find a location. Things were very tight. Money was tight. Loans weren't going through. Right. And we looked, in fact, we stayed on the farm with my aunt around Wabash. We looked in Wabash, and the first thing that became available that was good for us was in Logansport, and that's how we selected it.
So that's where you saw.
Right.
Now, is your brother still living?
Yes, and he's a chiropractor in Louisville. And he has the same office that my father had there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be there. That's odd that your father would go from this one career in the furniture business to What was the reason for that?
I'll tell you why. Remember I said he was very athletic?
Yes.
Well, I think about I forget now what age, but he was told that he had a heart murmur, mm-hmm. and that he could no longer continue in athletics, mm-hmm. of course, which is his second love. Mm-hmm. And this just hurt him deeply. Mm-hmm. And he went to an osteopath, because chiropractors were very few and far between at that time. Mm-hmm. And the osteopath helped him. Mm-hmm. And he explained to him and you see, osteopathy is not now what it was at one time, because it has been absorbed by the medical profession, which chiropractic has not. Mm-hmm. So then my father became interested because he no longer had this heart murmur. Mm-hmm. He could go back into athletics, which he loved so. And so at this age, he was like 28 years mm-hmm. old. Mm-hmm. And he decided, why not look into this? And he says, even if I could maintain the health of my own family, mm-hmm. this would be wonderful. So that's how he went into chiropractic, really with the idea of maintaining his health for his own family and still being in the salesman position. Well, of course, when he went to chiropractic college, then he became so imbued with it that he just decided that this would be his profession.
Yeah. And then he went and established his office in
Louisville, right, where he'd married my mother, you see.
Well, I'll be there. Yeah. then he lost all his Wabash connections.
That's just about right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's extremely interesting. How about your mother, then? Is she still living?
No, she's not living now either. Yeah. She was from a very illustrious Kentucky family. Uh-huh. My grandfather was, in fact, running for the governorship mm-hmm. of Kentucky mm-hmm. when he had an attack mm-hmm. and could not continue to run for the governorship. So that was funny, too, because they were very politically oriented. Mm-hmm. And my father was the opposite, so we've all grown up to be independents.
Well, I think that's really interesting. Tell me about your painting. I'm just going to briefly go on your painting, and then we're going to...
All right, fine. I majored in art when I went to school in Louisville, Kentucky. I took a 4-year art course there and loved it, but, then at an early age, at 19, I was married, so the art was put aside. This was during the war, and I traveled, although I did take some of my paints with me. So really, I have 2 sons, and when they became a little bit more on their own, mm-hmm. that I wasn't spending a lot of time, I went back into art pretty full-time about 8 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so now it's just another avocation, sort of a career for me. Mm-hmm. My husband says, good, it keeps her off the streets.
Do you sell your paintings also?
Yes,
Yeah.
some.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, I would hate to not be subsidized by my husband.
Where
But
have you exhibited? Where?
well, I have exhibited. I've been accepted into 4 juried shows in Indiana. I had a showing of 40 paintings in Louisville, Kentucky, which was rather a nice thing to happen after all the years I'd been gone from home, to be invited to show down there. I do a lot of programs, not so much teaching, but I give programs to people that are interested, not just in an artist way, but as a homemaker. I put them in the class that they too can be creative and decorative and happy, because I feel like if a woman isn't being creative, she's not really happy.
True. Very true.
So I paint a lot. I do some sculpting. I work in a lot of mediums.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
Well, it must be rewarding and satisfying both.
Thank you. I think it is.
Well, good. This gives me an idea of what I want and gives me a little background. I'm going to look forward to seeing your acrylics at
Thank you.
Honeywell
Very good.
Center.
Oh, my, you know the term and everything.
Yeah, well, I just read that. But they speak so highly of you at the library. Billy was so... and
that's nice.
I think that Logansport has a good, broad cultural base,
We do.
really.
You know, really we do. And another thing, we have, for the size place that Logansport is, we have some very, very excellent artists here.
Yeah, I'll bet.
We really do.
I bet you do.
It's quite good. We're blessed that way.
Well, we'll see you at the show in Wabash. I
Thank you
presume
very
you'll be
much.
there for the opening. Or whatever.
In fact, I don't really know. Do they have sort of a formal opening? I'm not really
I don't know.
sure.
I presume they would open it on Sunday and have something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I'll be there in July.
Good.
Thank you.
George Dingle, Wabash Carnegie Public Library interviewer.